Okay, and here we are going into the 7th turn of Silverton. Now, it's getting harder to do this actually because things are kind of getting a little bit more cluttered. Red's expanding north towards Leadville with that goal. The prospector is sitting in jail. Player 2 comes over here to White, who is linking up El Paso and not playing a prospector. They're low on cash. They still haven't hooked up Tajos or any of these other areas. On to 3, which swings us over to the blue player. They ended up stretching down to Ratton. Not a terribly needed move. They have Cole at Alamo, but they have more at Ratton, and they're going to try to balance this off and try to haul Cole every turn. They probably need more train. They don't really have that much for what they're doing. And they're prospecting off the deck. We go to player 4, who's Yellow. Yellow's doing a couple track builds, heading up towards Pinos Altos, which they control, and also into Albuquerque. So they may end up competing with White for who gets to service Albuquerque. I think White has the shorter route, however, so it may not be that good a move. There may even be a question of why they're going this way, especially since they're picking up the Paxton Springs, which is over here, and planning on heading this way. But it cuts their way open to things like Santa Fe and Pueblo that are of interest to them, no question. Okay, so that was 4 for Yellow. 5 is Purple. Purple's doing something kind of funky here. They're doing a double track build. Come to that in the rules, but they have to make a roll to beat that 6 in order to get that second build in. Otherwise, they'll fail, and that happens during the competition. And they're picking up the Bowie mine up there. That's going to be right here. Some coal. They don't really have any coal, and they've been kind of speculating and holding off on some of the metals. Well, at least coal they can deliver every turn without worrying too much. It'll drive Salt Lake City's coal prices down, but at least they'll be making money regularly. Okay, and then 6th is the green player, who's short on cash, didn't want to build any track. He set up a prospector to the Denver to Leadville route. He's going to claim that route. Now, here's the problem. Not quite yet. Red's not even there yet, so Red won't be able to claim it in the winter turn because he's got a good weather route there. He could have taken it away if he was one closer. So at the very least, Green's going to get a year of the Denver to Leadville route. He's got the cash to cover that. He can't cover that and make it to Aspen here. That's $360. He could have done one or the other. This seems like the better payoff. Silver's not up there that much. He doesn't have a lot of train. He'll have the cash next turn. Maybe even this turn to buy the train. But he needs trains and snowblowers and all kind of stuff to make it work this turn. Alright, so I guess we get on to the competition. And really the issue here, the only competition aspect is that purple route. And let's see how double placement works. I don't really remember it. It's an optional rule. Yeah, you look up, once a turn or once a game usually. Bugger. I'm not finding it. I'll come back in a moment. It's not an optional rule. It's part of the base rules, and I was mistaken about it. It only works in games with 4 or less players. So I'm going to put that purple guy off to collect the Eureka track. I thought you could do the double track lays in any number of players, but apparently it's not the case. Alright, well, onward then. Well, we've made it through the turn without a lot of change. Red's still in prison with their prospector. They rolled again. Still not needing it, essentially. They don't need to set up that train route, perhaps, or whatever. In fact, they may not be able to. Money getting a little tight even for the purple player. They spent about $500 this turn. And, they have a lot, and they're not delivering. They have all these metals they're producing. They chose not to deliver. They have the trains to do a big haul. They didn't want to do the copper because the price went down, and they feel like it'll go up. And the silver, they think they can squeak out a little bit more and then make a big dump. And here's the thing. If they dump that silver, they're going to hurt a lot of people. If they can drop the silver price, to the $100 range instead of in the 200 and 200 and something range or higher, there's a lot of people who are counting on their silver for their operating capital. Red, green, maybe even blue have these hordes of silver they're waiting to drop on people, and this is what Salt Lake City can really do. The mines that it gets, if it gets the metal mines, tend to be very close to it, so it can hook them up early in the game and then kind of stay poised. With the late turn order card, they were able to see that nobody else was hooked up and selling any. Nobody's going to sell any next turn either. They also checked that. So unless somebody gets very lucky, well, blue could hook up Westcliff, and there's 3 silver there. There's silver in Leadville that green could haul, but they're not going to do it next turn, and they were too late. They were not doing it this turn. So it looks like that's about where we are. It could have happened. Somebody could have cut that deal. Nobody thought to. All right, so we push on into the winter, and I'm going to go out dancing. Well, that was a bit of a painful break in my hurry to head out last time I vided. It looks like I left a few things in kind of the wrong state. For example, green hadn't bought their Denver to Leadville route yet. I didn't check the prices and change them, I think. And so when I did the prices, we see a big jump in a lot of prices, especially lumber prices, but silver's all the way up. Gold made it back to its starting position. Coal kind of didn't gain tremendously, but we've got the 2 IDN last turn. Now it goes up to a 3. I've already played the surveyors and prospectors. Let's take a brief look at what happened there. Red continuing their way up to Leadville. They're not going to have the best route there, but they at least have some money they want to pull out of there. Over there. 2 was white. Not a lot of cash, not enough to develop any additional track. Not even that little run to Taos. $200 could make them a lot. And here's the problem. I set these up before I did the price changes, but I'm pretty sure I didn't do them. I re-looked at the video. So you may see me fix something at times. In this case, they've got the El Paso to Albuquerque route that they're buying. They don't have the cash to make it to Taos this turn in addition to that. So they're not going to change their decision. 3 blue. Built their track to hook up Westcliff. They're going to get that silver, and they can't get Leadville this early. So the majority of their mines are not going to be able to hit. Now that $400 silver price almost guarantees that purple's going to dump silver. Where were we? What else did blue do? More coal for blue. At some point or another, you got to decide, I got enough coal, but this isn't enough to last you the game, so, yeah, well, might as well keep grabbing them while they come, because someone else, they may be a rare commodity. It's very unlikely. Coal mines in this area, they're a decent number, but they're not like coal mines back in Salt Lake City area, which there's just a ridiculous amount of them. That puts us over to 4 yellow, branching out to get to Paxton Springs, and also heading up. This will get them to Santa Fe. There is a slightly cheaper route over the snow, but at the same time it also gets them closer to Salt Lake City and Pueblo, and those are both important. They're hoping to basically develop those routes because the Santa Fe player got the bonus on dropping down to El Paso and getting the shorter route. And in fact, we already did him. White was picking that up. Yellow can compete, but he'd be at a 2-point disadvantage. So instead, he's pulling top card off the Well, see now, knowing yellow's strapped for cash or white's strapped for cash, yellow might want to compete. Nah, he's not gonna. He's gonna let him have it. So here's the thing: if he got it first with the penalty, white would have to then pay the cash to compete for it. And white would do that the first time. That wouldn't cost him anything but a turn. But if he fails, white wouldn't have the money to continue on, basically. He just doesn't produce it. He doesn't have his track hooked up, and all he's got is this thing giving him $90 a turn, which it'll be a long time before he gets that 405. So he'd have to hook up Taos. So it would be a way of almost knocking white out of the game, and maybe being able to keep that route for yourself. But it's a risk that you want to take. Okay, purple. And it's tough because I had a day off when trying to recover. Dancing kills my body, and I just slept all day and then played some Arkham Horror with my wife, and that didn't work well. Trying to push forward into the eastern stuff, and then Lake City. It's not too far from his route, so I figures, well, might be interesting to own. And now 6 is green. This is... Wow. Yeah, I stopped and said, whoa, what's up? Because his prospector was on the Denver to Leadville. Basically, he doesn't want to build track, I don't think, but he may want to prospect somewhere. He has almost no money. He has about enough to get himself up to... No, he doesn't even have enough. He only has $250. So he's not going to be able to make it to Aspen. So he's going to toss a prospector up here. Basically, he had enough money to make it to Aspen before, but he chose this Denver to Leadville route instead. And he chose this one, which isn't going to have the huge payoff because he didn't have the cash for the other one. Now he's going to make $120 off this. Not this turn. Next turn. That'll give him enough, but he's got to go for a turn delay. It really was an ugly choice. But the fact that he couldn't build the track this turn anyway, I don't know. Nothing really works out well for him. So he's just so cash strapped, and he has no way to get rid of anything. He might be able to sell a mine or something. We'll see. Wow, I've used up a lot of time because I'm half out of it still, just in terms of, coming back to a game like this, it's tough. I'll finish up this turn and load it. At least my videos are loading faster. And I wasn't paying very close attention last turn either. Reds hooked up Leadville. They hauled their silver, so they make $1,600 with their 4 silver. The only person who's really getting screwed by the delay in buying silver or selling silver by purple is green, and green's pretty hosed anyway. So they managed to make their $1,600 off their 4 Leadville silver for red. And we're going to see blue is going to be able to sell its Westcliff silver. So delaying was a bad idea, probably. They could have dumped the price. Had little harm to themselves. I mean, yes, they have a lot of silver that they would have gotten twice as much for. But boy, would they be hurting everyone else by dumping it down. I don't know. Anyway. Well, on blue's turn, I saw they're doing quite well. Not only did they pull in the cash for the silver, but they've got 2 markets for the call. They're not dumping a terrible amount at a time. They're only delivering, say, 5 a turn. And with 2 markets, well, they're able to keep the price at a pretty decent level. So they've got this constant flow of income that pretty much will pay for any operating expenses and a little bit more. And then they've got these silver mines that, once they hook up, bring them big bursts of money. A similar situation down here for yellow. they've got this Magdalena coal mine, which is providing them with a few $100. Now, they've only got one market, so the El Paso market's getting depressed. They only got $300 for it. They're barely covering expenses, maybe not quite. But they do have a lot of other alternatives, and they have the ability to switch to those once they get them fully hooked up. Right now, though, Paxton Springs isn't hooked up yet, and that's their next option with lumber. And the lumber prices aren't good in El Paso, so they don't want to deliver them there. They want to get them at least to Santa Fe. Copper and silver would be fine. They don't have them hooked up either yet. So they've got kind of a hard pull ahead of them. Well, everybody completed their plans. $3,600 for the silver, the purple hauled in. You can see the stack piled up there. A little bit of coal being moved too. But for the most part, that's the big thing. And that's just going to smash this. So how many silver were sent? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 silver. There's a 3 IDE. So that means there's a plus 13 to the die roll. Okay, the lowest you can roll is a 2. Silver is going to go down a minimum of 6, possibly, or most likely 7 spaces. $160. Yeah, I mean, you can see the swing there. And now green is reliant on their Aspen silver. It's a painful blow. All right. But think if that had happened more or less last turn. Purple wouldn't have as much cash, no question. But they would have deprived red, at least, and to some extent blue, of operating capital for a while. Of course, companies can always choose, when they're not in green's position, to kind of run without making those deliveries for a long time. We'll see. So final prices, copper made its way back up. Gold's still creeping upward. Silver dropped, obviously. Lumber mainly increasing. And coal having its problems because of the sales. We got one more route to show. By the way, last time a big one showed up, Salt Lake City to Colorado Springs, that's running all the way across the board. This is card 21, and this is now card 22. You can see the huge price, pays $800 a turn, costs $1,100. This is Denver to Salt Lake City. Cards 22 is the one that causes a discard here. 21, the Pueblo to Grand Junction provides a discount but no discard. Here, same situation, a discount but no discard. So that's kind of an interesting situation. All right, I guess I can load this up and we're up to the next turn. That'll be a spring turn and onward.